What's going on, everybody? Welcome back into the channel. Today we have a fun video for you going over another new format that we like to play at my locals at Myrtle Beach Games. This is the Jar Jar format. Now, there are probably people out there who have also played or made up their own versions of this, but this is how we play it. I'm going to go over the rules because there are some things to note. The deck list, because there is a specific deck list you have to run. And then I'm also going to show a game at the end of us playing the game. It's a little chaotic, but I'll kind of walk you guys through. And it's just another way, again, to get new players to play the game, whether it be in the normal formats, right, Premiere and stuff like that, or in these fun little formats like the Heroes and Villains, Jar Jar, anything like that. It's just a fun way to play the game, a little bit different and stuff like that. We are officially moved into the new house, which is pretty nice. We finally got Wi-Fi up. So the videos are going to be coming more frequently. I have, after this one, I felt like we should start with a more fun video now that we're in the new house. I have a Kanan Jarrus decklist video I'm going to post probably at the end of this week. And then also I have an Obi-Wan decklist I want to get out there. And I think as far as the reveals go, I'm going to probably talk about the leaders and then talk about decklist possibilities, stuff like that, getting ready for Worlds, rather than going over each individual revealed card, right? So I feel like, for me at least, I want to talk about the leaders and how they might be built and what's beneficial in each way to build it, right? Just so we can kind of get ready and gear towards the big Galactic Championship, because there is not going to be a big tournament in between release of Set 5 and Galactic Championship. So if you guys are excited for that, if you guys are new here, make sure you hit the sub button down below. Support is always appreciated. And as you guys know, as you can see here, we are going back to the old format for the videos as far as deck lists and this type of stuff go, because this deck does include a deck list. I figured I'd go back to this. I feel like the quality is better, and I figured that you guys probably like this format a little more anyway. So let's go ahead and talk about the Jar Jar format. If you guys know anything about Dan Dan from Magic, this is something kind of similar that we have for Star Wars Unlimited, but we, instead of using Dan Dan, we use Jar Jars. Let's talk about Jar Jar unit first, and then we'll go over the rules of it and like kind of the point of the game, right? Jar Jar is a 2-cost unit that is a 2/3, and on attack, you must deal 2 damage to a random unit or base. And what's cool about this is that you just assign everything on the board a number, you roll a die, and whenever you roll, that takes 2 damage. This can lead to some really funny things, like if your Jar Jar is hit prior to doing this, if he hits himself, he doesn't even get to deal the damage. You can deal extra damage to a base if you swing into a base. You can go ahead and deal 4 damage into a base instead of 2 damage if you roll that number. You can hit your own base. You can hit your own Jar Jar. It gets really crazy how this kind of turns out. And it's just really funny, and I, like, again, super chaotic, but a lot of fun. And I definitely recommend it if you guys want to try it out. The deck list will be in the video. I'll go over it and why we added these cards and stuff like that. But the rules overall are Twin Sun based, right? So it's a 4-person format. Instead of 30 HP bases, though, max is 20, right? Everyone uses the same base, but everyone is maxed out at 20. But you do have the initiative token, you have the planning token, and you have the blast token, right? So those you all take the same, but the blast token also has the Jar Jar effect, where that if you do choose to take the blast token, you have to roll a d4 and it hits any base for 1. Not that it hits every base, it only hits 1. So you can roll 1 and hit your own base, but you could also roll any one of anyone else's. So rather than the blast token hitting every single base, it only hits 1 base. Every person, if you have a Jar Jar in hand, you must play that Jar Jar before playing anything else. If you have to have a Jar Jar on board in order to play stuff. And that's kind of, you know, the whole point of Jar Jar is to be able to play the Jar Jars. If you happen to draw a hand with no Jar Jars, obviously it ends, right? The turn will end, and you do get to, at the end of the turn, get to do your own Jar Jar effect, where you're rolling and everything is assigned a number, but you only deal 1 damage rather than 2. So you're not completely out of the game. You do get to roll a dice, have some fun. But again, if you have a Jar Jar in hand, you have to play it if you have no Jar Jar on the board. Only Jar Jars are able to attack. So just a little bit of a spoiler, we have 2 techs in the deck list. They cannot attack, but they're used for smuggling out stuff out of your resources, just in case, you know, you might need to play a Jar Jar out of your resources and stuff like that. We added 2 techs, very rare to get, but still nonetheless very fun. But tech cannot attack base. only Jar Jars can attack. Well, Tech can't attack in general. Only Jar Jars can attack, right? So keep that in mind. Tech is only there to be able to play things out of Smuggle, whereas Jar Jar is the only way to deal damage across the board. The last rule, I guess you can say, is that it's just, again, for fun. If you have 5 Jar Jars out of the 6, or you have 5 or 6 Jar Jars in your opening hand, you do get to play a Jar Jar from your hand before the game starts and it's ready for turn 1. This allows you to go ahead and get some early damage out if it happens. Now, transparency here, we have a 100 card deck, and we play 30 Jar Jars. And with that being said, Jar Jar, you have a 30% chance to draw a Jar Jar, but the likeliness of you getting 5 in your opening hand is very low. But it does happen from time to time, as you will see. So it is a lot of fun. Being able to get a Jar Jar out there ready before anything else is going is just really funny. It just adds to the fun of the game, right? But that's pretty much the rules. Again, it's basically Twin Suns, except that everyone has to play Jar Jar and everything is super chaotic, right? But let's go ahead and talk about the deck list. Before we get into the actual deck list, let's talk about the leaders and the base, right? You're not actually able to deploy the leader. The leader is here just for the ability. And we decided to go with Fennec Shan. The reason we went with Fennec Shan is because she gives a unit that costs 4 or less ambush if you pay 1 more. So if you do want to go ahead and use a Jar Jar with ambush, allowing you to use his ability while using it like on play, it just, again, adds to more chaos. You get to use his ability on play pretty much. Yes, you'll be taking 2 damage back, which is also pretty scary because you can end up hitting your own Jar Jar in that play with ambush. But sometimes it's necessary. If someone has 1 HP left on base and you want to potentially be the one to knock him out, and you have the Jar Jar in hand, and that's the only way you can attack, and you believe in your rolls, go for it. Ambush out the Jar Jar and roll that base damage and try to knock him out for the 2. And it's just, again, it just adds in that chaotic factor where you're able to actually get a Jar Jar ability on the turn that you play him as well. So we felt like Fennec was very good in that. And again, you cannot deploy Fennec. Fennec is just there for the ability. Now, the base is a quote-unquote 30 HP base, but in reality, it is only 20 HP. So keep that in mind. And yes, you can go ahead and you can play 30 HP at 30 HP. I think that we were just afraid that the game was going to be too long if we went 30. Originally, we were going to do 15, but 15 was just not enough. So we went to 20, and we feel like 20 is actually pretty solid. And so we left it at 20. And again, you can, change the rules any way you guys want. And if you want to go to a 30 HP base, you're more than welcome to. It seems like 20 HP, the most amount of resources we do get to is about 6 resources. But again, that's a pretty decent amount of turns, right? Now, let's go ahead and talk about the deck list, because it's kind of the important part, right? And the numbers are kind of weird, and you are definitely able to edit this any way you please as well. But just keep in mind that this is what we've been doing, and we have made changes throughout, and I feel like this is actually a really good spot for the deck right now, right? As we said before, we have Jar Jar. It's a 2-drop, 2/3. We're playing double yellow, so it stays the aspect. We decided to just keep everything yellow in the deck, just so the aspect penalty won't be super hard to keep track of, right? We have Jar Jar. It's a 2-drop, 2/3 on attack. Deal 2 damage to a random unit or base, and this is the key to the deck, key to the fun. It's just, again, the whole format is based around this guy, and it's just meant for fun, right? Next, let's go ahead and start over with our low-cost cards, right? We have In Pursuit, which is a 0-cost, exhaust a friendly unit if you do exhaust an enemy unit. This is really good. As I already said before, Tech is not able to attack. In Pursuit works really well with Tech, right? That being said, there are only 4 In Pursuits. There are 30 Jar Jars, if I didn't say so already. There are 4 In Pursuits. This is a good way to also kind of protect yourself in the late game if you are willing to give up one of your Jar Jar swings to make sure your opponent does not swing with Jar Jar. It's definitely a fun card to use. We have Look the Other Way, a 0-cost, exhaust a unit unless your controller pays 2. Again, another way to exhaust late game for 0 to kind of protect yourself in the late game. It's just, again, don't want those Jar Jar swinging sometimes. You got to exhaust them if you can. Next, we have Wanted. We added bounties into this deck. Attached unit gains bounty when ready 2 friendly units, obviously when you collect the bounties. 2 friendly resources. That's really solid, actually. So if you're able to play this one turn for 0, and then on a following turn, play a Jar Jar, kill that Jar Jar with the wanted, and ready up 2 resources, you could potentially get out of Jar Jar for free while still being able to surprise strike or hotshot blaster or anything like that. That being said, though, if you're putting wanted on something, expect someone else to probably go for it to try to ready their own resources. So you have to be really strategic in how you play the bounties in this format, which I think is also a lot of fun. There's a lot of times where we just kind of put wanted and we don't swing into the thing with wanted. We just let the Jar Jar rolls kind of go for it. And yeah, it's pretty funny. Next, we have 3 jam communications. 3 jam communications. Look at your opponent's hand, discard an event from it. It's actually really good card. We only have 3 because it is so good in this format, because you're able to go ahead and get rid of surprise strike, sneak attack, stuff like that. Clear the field, which is huge. Cunning, right? I felt like if we filled the deck up with jam communications, that's when the game could have probably gotten long. But overall, jam communication is still really, really good in this format. And again, being able to snag a surprise strike from someone or a cunning off of someone is pretty solid. Next, we have the Hotshot DL44 Blaster. We all know how good this card is. This is one of the cards that are on the more expensive side of the deck. So it's super hard probably to, get. We play with 6 of them in this deck, right? It might be hard to get 6. You don't need to run 6 of them. You can run more surprise strikes if you want. I just decided to run 6 Hotshot Blasters in this deck. I felt like it was a good number. But still, being able to play, you're mainly playing it from Smuggle, mainly because if you're playing it not from Smuggle, you're paying 3. Not worth it, right? So you're going to basically be playing this for Smuggle at all times. And, give Jar Jar a gun, shoot in your base before. Yeah, it's pretty good. We have Jar Jar, obviously, on this list at 30, as we already said before. 30 Jar Jars. We felt like 30% chance to draw a Jar Jar at any given point is actually pretty solid. Next, we have Clear the Field. Now, this card is an absolute game changer. We didn't have it originally, and we decided to add it after the fact. We originally had Don't Get Cocky, but we decided that was just not worth it. We decided to go with 4 Clear the Field. This is a board wipe for 2, but on everyone else's side except for your own. So when you go ahead and you point to a Jar Jar, it gets rid of everyone else's Jar Jars on the board while yours is able to stay on the board. I had this in hand with 4 Jar Jars on board. I was ready to go. Someone jammed communication to me. Good on them. I was devastated, but still really, really solid card. Next, we have 3 sneak attacks. We did not have this in the original deck list either, but this card is actually really good because we felt like when it came to knocking someone out at the end of the game, it was really hard to kind of come back from that. The person heals 5. They were kind of winning most of the time and stuff like that, right? But with sneak attack, this allows you to play a Jar Jar out and ready for 2, and then still have resources potentially in the late game to either surprise strike or hotshot blaster, allowing you to potentially maybe finish someone off. You heal 5 or hit someone for 5 and potentially 7 to try to come back and just add some more parity to the end of the game, some more chaos, right? So we feel like sneak attack was very good. We have that listed at 3 in this deck. Next, we have surprise strikes. We have 12 surprise strikes in this deck. Again, the main focus of the deck is to have Jar Jar hitting the bases. You don't want the game going super long. When a Jar Jar is able to hit a base for 5 at any given point, it's just really, really strong. That being said, people might think that 5 on base for 20 HP bases, oh, the game's going to go way too fast. But in the reality of these things, right, the game is so unpredictable because Jar Jar can roll and hit himself and stop the damage altogether. You're going to see that in the matchup. In the matchup I'm going to show you, that multiple times Jar Jar hits himself, making it so he doesn't actually even get the damage on the base because he kills himself before the damage is applied. So that's what's fun about it. And yes, Jar Jar can hit for 5. That's 25% of your HP. But again, we felt like we've played enough games to where we felt like 20 HP was enough. And even with the Jar Jar's hitting for 5, it was pretty solid, right? We have Unrefusable Offer. Now, this is one card that I feel like is kind of meh in the deck. We have this as a 4 of. It is fun to be able to kill a Jar Jar, being able to play it ready, and then go ahead and swing at that person's base or around the board, right? It is a lot of fun. It just, I'm not spending 2 very often for this card, but when it does come out and happen, it's just really funny, and actually it is enjoyable for sure. Next, we have Tech. Now, Tech is probably the best card in this format, mainly because it allows you to play your cards from your resources and allowing you to potentially play a Jar Jar that you put down from resource, surprise strikes. So, like, early in the game, you have to put down stuff you don't want to put down because you are required to play Jar Jars, right? Tech allows you to go ahead and play anything from your resources, as we all know. But he's only a 2 of in this deck. You have a 2% chance to draw this card. Super rare to get it, but when you do, you feel great. It's just obviously one of the best cards. But remember, he cannot attack the base. You can use him for In Pursuit to exhaust the tech, to exhaust a Jar Jar. Really good combination if you get that. But he cannot attack Jar Jars or base. Tech is just there to be able to give you that smuggle ability for your resources. Next, we have a card that's mainly just a dead draw. We felt like in Jar Jar, chaotic, unpredictable, having It's a Trap as a dead draw was pretty funny. So if you draw It's a Trap, you reveal it to everyone and it goes straight into your resources no matter what, because it physically cannot do anything in this format. We have no space. So It's a Trap is just a dead draw as kind of a meme, right? And what better card to choose than It's a Trap? Look at that art. Come on now. Next, we have Spare the Target. Now, Spare the Target is very good. It is waylay, but you cannot use it on your own units. Also, if your opponent has a bounty on them, you can go ahead and spare the target and claim that bounty. So it's also a good way to unrefusable offer. If it's on something and you play this on it, you do get to, I'm not sure exactly how that works with unrefusable offer. I'm not going to lie, because it does get kind of crazy, right? Yeah, okay. So play this unit for free under your control. And it enters ready. Okay, yeah. So if you just bounce it back to your opponent's hand, it actually just goes right onto your field ready. So that's actually a really funny combo, right? But with that being said, Spare the Target is waylay. Just, again, you can use it on anyone else's but your own. Whereas we also have 4 waylays. We have 4 Spare the Targets. We have 4 waylays. Both these cards are meant to bounce Jar Jars back, obviously, but also Waylay is good because you can bounce your own Jar Jar back to your hand. Now, why is that important? Because there are so limited Jar Jars that sometimes when your Jar Jar has 2 damage on it, you're afraid to attack because it might kill itself. So if you waylay it and then play it down again, you don't have to worry about it killing itself because it will be fully healed if that's what you want to do. But still, waylay and spare target, we have 4 of each of those. We also have 4 cunnings. Cunning is very good, but you have to understand that the +4/+0 is very enticing, right? If you want to go ahead and risk the biscuit, give +4 to your Jar Jar, have him threaten 6, and then you can go ahead and surprise strike, have him threaten 9, cool and all, but he still only has 3 HP, and he'll become a target. So whether it be waylay, spare the target, right? Someone else using a DL44 blaster with their Jar Jar into your Jar Jar, preventing that 6 damage, you're putting a target on your back, but it still adds to the chaos. Go for it, 100%, a lot of fun, right? But you can also go ahead and you can exhaust 2 other Jar Jars board. You can also discard a random card from someone's hand, which has also been really solid. And then you could also bounce a unit that costs 4 or less power to the owner's hand. So as long as it's non-leader, but obviously we do not have Fennec Shand coming onto the board. But still, Cunning, still very strong in this format. It's just when you go ahead and you try to add that +4, it becomes an absolute crapshoot and you don't know what's going to happen. Next, we have 4 Change of Hearts. Change of Hearts, again, for 6, you could take over someone's Jar Jars. You kind of hope that they have a DL44 blaster, so then you can go ahead and use, maybe hit it for 4, or if he's going to Kimbo and he has 2 of them, you can go and hit a base for 6, right? Change of Hearts is very solid in trying to prevent that big damage coming your way and have it go where you want it to go. And then he does his effect anyway, right? And then the last 2 cards, they're both 3-ofs. We have Evacuate. It just returns each non-leader unit to the owner's hand. Again, Fennec Shand's not going to be on the board, so everything on the board just gets returned to the owner's hand. You do this, and everyone else will be able to drop down cards, right? But if you are in a spot where you don't think that you can win and you need to bounce everything up, this is very good. Like, you go ahead and you start swinging out your Jar Jars, and you're done swinging out your Jar Jars, and you have 6 resources, bounce it all back up, I guess, and then hope that when they puke out all their resources, you can go ahead and do that. Or you can save it till everyone else is done playing everything and all their resources, and then bounce everything up, right? Final showdown, ready all your units. If you don't win the game, you lose the game. It's just simple as that. More chaos. But this is, again, a 100-card deck list. Everyone is sharing the deck. Keep that in mind. Everyone's drawing from the same deck. So what we do is we do a dealer's draw when it comes to starting the game. So the person who gets initiative starts, and then you go 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, right? You're just doing a dealer's draw, and we do the same thing. Whoever has initiative starts the draw phase, but we do 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 2 for this each upkeep and all that, right? Each regroup phase and all that stuff. So that being said, we're going to go ahead and we're going to hop over to the match. I was going to show 2, but I think that showing 1 is going to be pretty solid, just because it is pretty chaotic. I need to kind of go over what's going on. And 1 match is going to do for this. But if you guys are enjoying the video, make sure you hit that sub button. Support is always appreciated. Let's go ahead and hop over to the game of Jar Jar. And hopefully you guys enjoyed enough to try it out yourselves. But we'll be right back. All right, we are here with the game. Obviously, you see Ryan here. He's dealing out the cards 1 at a time. Rather than doing 6 off the top for each player, you just go ahead and count out 1, and you do kind of a dealer's deal. And yeah, so everyone has 6 cards here. We're then going to go ahead and roll for initiative. Not before you see the Jartsy there. We have the Jartsy. And boom, I start off the game with a Jar Jar on the board. Now, that might not necessarily be a good thing because you might become a target early, but you do get to go ahead and deal out damage early and before anyone else, which is really nice, right? All right, so now Josh is going to start off the game with initiative here, and he's going to start off with a Jar Jar. Not really surprising there. And you're going to kind of see it go around the wheel here and go here. And then you see everyone pointing out we have 1 hyperspace Jar Jar in this deck. And Ryan got it on turn 1. So we're all kind of have to pointing it out just for fun. And TJ is going to go ahead and play out his Jar Jar. And now we have to pretty much see what Josh is going to do. Because now, again, it is Twin Sun format, so he does have 3 options here. You can grab the initiative, grab the blast, and grab the planning or the planning token. But the thing is, if he does grab the blast, he does have to roll a d4. And he doesn't actually get to blast everyone like it does in Twin Suns. But overall, he's probably just going to go ahead. There you go. See the initiative here. And then you see Ryan's going to go ahead and take the blast token because why not? And he's going to go ahead and roll his d4. Off the d4, he does roll a 4, not that you guys can see it, but he does hit Josh's base. So Josh gets 1 damage off the base, off the blast token. I'm going to go ahead and swing my Jar Jar into Ryan's base, because he does have the hyperspace. You know, you gotta try to keep him in line here. I'm now gonna go ahead and roll. The bases are assigned 1 through 4, and then we go ahead and we do the Jar Jars after. So I ended up getting an 8 here. So I hit Josh's Jar Jar, and I do feel bad for Josh because in this game the dice are not kind to him, and you're gonna kind of see that throughout. So TJ is gonna go ahead and take the planning token. And I'm going to go ahead and pass. And we're going to go ahead and speed up through this part and get us to the start of next turn, right? Because obviously we have to deal out the cards. Again, you see the deal 1 at a time once everyone's ready to go. And you see Ryan actually did get It's a Trap. So again, it's a dead draw. You reveal it and it goes automatically into the resources. We're all ready to go here. Josh does have the initiative. And we'll kind of see how this one plays out here. We're just going to throw them on top of the deck. Not that it really matters. And there's a good chance that I do end up showing the cards that are being played in the middle. So you might not even see the tokens anyway, right? Jar Jar is going to go ahead out here. And he is going to go ahead and swing at TJ's base, I believe, but if he does go ahead and he rolls a 5, he would have taken out his own Jar Jar and not dealt the damage. Ryan's going to go ahead and take 2 there, go to 4. TJ's going to go ahead, take 2, and go to 2. Obviously, his first 2 damage on base. Ryan is then going to go ahead and swing on my base. It makes sense. Jar Jar has no damage on it, so it's guaranteed to do that 2 damage into my base here. And he is going to go ahead and roll the 5, and he's going to shoot his own Jar Jar in the leg. And poor little hyperspace man, not doing too well here. I'm going to go ahead and I'm also going to go ahead and swing at Josh's base. And Josh is upset a little bit, but understand that we were just making sure that everyone takes equal damage to the base. The only damage that Josh took to base was from the blast token. So I was like, hey, I'm just making sure that everyone has equal here. I'm going to go ahead and roll here. You see the 7, and the 7 is going to end up being TJ's own Jar Jar. So there now puts him into the position where if he swings and he rolls a 5, he does end up dying. right? It stops and prevents all damage from there. From here, though, you see what looks to be a hot shot blaster coming from smugglers. So Jar Jar's got a gun. It's a huge threat, and I do believe he's coming at my base here, right? If he ends up getting a 5 here, I do take 0. So I was told, hey, put that back, which obviously is correct. I have to wait for the Jar Jar to see where he hits, right? If the Jar Jar hits himself, it is hilarious, but it's unfortunate for TJ, right? So you see the die coming out here, and boom, he does roll that 5. I'm cheering. Obviously, you see the shake there because I'm just laughing my ass off because it's just funny because he had a potential to do 4 damage in my base, put me at 6, but the Jar Jar, you know, Jar Jar's not really that good with a gun, so he shot himself in the leg, and it is what it is. This is a jam communications. Now you can see it. The glare is pretty rough, and he's going to take a card from Ryan's hand. He chooses to go with the Waylay, dump that Waylay into the dumpster, and jam communications into the discard. The Jar Jar is going to come out with ambush out of retaliation to try to kill Josh's Jar Jar, which is going to be able to because it won't die, and it'll also deal 3. So TJ is also going to take 2 damage. He's going to catch some strays here. He's going to go to 4, and Josh is going to lose his Jar Jar, and Ryan's Jar Jar is going to go ahead and take 2 damage on it. I'm also going to go ahead and swing at TJ just because he swung at my base. The potential was there, and I went ahead and I dealt 2 damage to Josh. Again, dice very unkind to Josh. He's gotten a blast hit. He's gotten 2 damage from, you know, Jar Jar, although everyone else has pretty much gotten a Jar Jar hit on their base except for me, so it is what it is. Now you see the initiative being taken by TJ. Josh is going to play a Jar Jar, the blast token. Ryan does roll a 1, and so he's going to put himself at 5, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to ambush out into the non-fancy Jar Jar, just because I want to keep the fancy one on the board a little bit nicer, right? So now I'm going to go ahead and roll. I'm going to put it a little bit over just so, you know, I was thinking that maybe I roll a 5 here, but I go ahead and I roll a 3. So Josh is again going to take more damage from the base from a Jar Jar swing. I'm going to get 2 damage on my Jar Jar, and I do take out Ryan's Jar Jar, and I have pretty much the Jarmy going right now, right? So we have 3 Jar Jars on the board. Everyone else only has 1. TJ has none, so he will have to do the Jar Jar ability. If we do remember, I'm not entirely sure if we remember it here, but I don't think we do. So at that point, because he has no Jar Jar on the board, he should have done a Jar Jar ability. Let's go ahead and speed up a little bit just to go ahead and get our resources down and get back into the action, right? Once everyone readies up, we'll be good to go. Josh is thinking really, really long for this, but again, all right, we are good to go now. Everyone's ready to go. TJ does have initiative. Again, he should have done a Jar Jar ability, but again, this is kind of early in our testing, so maybe we did end up switching it a little bit as we continue to play, right? So I have 3 Jar Jars. One of them is damaged. I'm looking like I'm in a really good spot because I can go ahead and I can deal out some pretty big damage across the board. So TJ's just trying to kind of decide what he's trying to do here, because, you know, he could ambush in a Jar Jar, take out my Jar Jar. He could ambush in and take out Ryan's Jar Jar. He does choose to ambush out. He goes with what should have been 3 resources. It doesn't look like he only paid 2. It is what it is. Oh, no, there you go. There's a 3rd resource. My Jar Jar is going to die automatically, but there is a chance that he does also die as well, right? So he does do the 6. It's going to be Josh's Jar Jar. So Josh still getting picked on with the dice, and I'm going to lose my Jar Jar. And TJ's Jar Jar is going to have 2. And now we have to see how it goes here. So Josh is going to go ahead. He's going to play the cunning for 4, right? He does exhaust both my Jar Jars. So even though I had 3 Jar Jars to start the turn, I had 0 Jar Jars. And now he went to go ahead and pop back a Jar Jar into TJ's hand, which actually is good for him because now he won't lose it. I am going to get damage into my base. We don't know if Ryan's going to go ahead and hit himself. And now we see the 8 here, and it is going to be Josh's Jar Jar again getting shot. The Ricochet is just beating on Josh all day, every day. But now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to ambush again. This is probably a really bad idea. I'm just getting really ambush happy. I will go ahead and see if I deal the damage to the Jar Jar. I'm going to go ahead and deal it to my own Jar Jar, which is very unfortunate. So now I go from healthy Jar Jars to one healthy Jar Jar and two unhealthy Jar Jars, and it's just unfortunate turn of events for sure. I mean, I'm the only one with 3 Jar Jars, though. Everyone else has ran out of Jar Jars. Ryan will probably play a Jar Jar here, where he has to kind of decide if he wants to ambush in. All right. TJ has grabbed the initiative, I'm pretty sure, and now Josh is going to go ahead and kind of figure out what he wants to do. He's putting Wanted on one of my unhealthy Jar Jars. Ryan's going to go ahead and play a Jar Jar. I have a Cunning in hand, and I do believe I put a Cunning to the bottom. Now, maybe that was a dumb idea, but the way I was looking at it is that, like, this is surprise. I'm trying to think, like, do I put a Surprise Strike to the bottom? But I think I end up putting the Cunning, just because I can go ahead and play the Surprise Strike and feel pretty good on an attack, right? But it do be what it do be. So the Cunning goes to the bottom. Bad move probably, but you know, in this format, you don't know what is ever going to happen, right? Josh is now going to go ahead, and I'm pretty sure he's going to take the Blast token. So there's the Blast. And now you see, and he goes ahead and he hits TJ's base for 1. And now we're going to go ahead and we're going to see there is no Jar Jar on the board. He's going to deal 1 damage to Ryan's base. And again, because they don't have a Jar Jar on their field to end the turn, they do get the Jar Jar effect, but for 1, right? So they both end up rolling on Ryan's base. Very unfortunate for Ryan, but here we go. We're going to go ahead and speed up to get through to the regroup phase. Everyone's going to ready up, put down their resources. Okay. And everyone's ready to go, right? So we're getting kind of close to the end. You see the ambush come in here again. TJ's going to ambush another Jar Jar into one of my Jar Jars. This way, he does get to ready up his 2 resources off of this one. But we have to see what he rolls. Just in case he does hit the Jar Jar again, his Jar Jar won't take any damage back. So there we go. We see, I believe that's a 6, which is going to go ahead and be Ryan's Jar Jar, making his healthy Jar Jar unhealthy. And we have to see how that one turns out, right? Now, because now if he attacks, he can go ahead and potentially knock himself out, which is a problem. That Jar Jar is supposed to have 2. He is going to go ahead and play... yeah, so I do pay the 2. Look the other way does kind of come in clutch there, right? So I have to pay the 2. I do lose technically half my resources here. Ryan is going to go ahead and swing into my base for 5. And he does hit my base again. So he deals 7 to my base, right? So I was in a really good spot, and then boom, 1 turn takes up almost half my HP, right? 7 damage in 1 swing is crazy. And now I have to kind of decide here. I do have a Surprise Strike in hand. I kept multiple Surprise Strikes over keeping the Cunning. Just because I feel like spending 4 resources for potential +6 and being able to attack. I do go with the unhealthy one as a risk play. And it's just because like I was trying to save the other one for another play, and I do end up getting 6, which puts 2 damage on my other guy, but I do go ahead and I deal 5 to Ryan's base. He did just deal 7 to mine, right? So it was my retaliation, Jar Jar. There's the cunning. He's skipping TJ's turn, but you know, we know what's coming out here. The cunning is gonna come out from Josh. You see another Jar Jar hit the field. And we see the cunning. He's going to go ahead and bounce that Jar Jar to my hand, which I'm okay with because I do have now potential healthy Jar Jar on the board at some point, but it is what it is. And now he has to decide who to take a card from. He does decide to take it from TJ. All right, so TJ is going to present his cards. They are a little bit off the screen. And he is going to go ahead and get rid of the cunning. Cunning goes to the discard pile. And out comes a Jar Jar. I'm going to take the initiative token because I do have a surprise strike in hand. So I want to start next turn with a surprise strike potential, right? Now, TJ does have another Jar Jar in hand, and you kind of saw what he did this turn, right? It's a pretty big turn. He ambushed in the Jar Jar into Wanted, readying up 2 resources, playing an additional 2 Jar Jars on the 5 resource turn. So essentially, he got to play 3 Jar Jars, and one of them was for 1 because he was able to ambush it out and take out my unit with Wanted, which is pretty big there. You see the blast go off as well. And now we're going to go ahead and dish out. And the game's pretty much getting close to the end, right? You saw the big damage coming in from Ryan. 7 on my base. It's putting me in a really bad spot in terms of being healthy. Me and Ryan are both in not great spots. We both have 12 damage on base, I'm pretty sure. And we're going to kind of see how it plays out, right? So I have initiative here. And I took initiative just so I can go ahead and try to get some damage out. I don't think I'm in a good spot, and I do believe that I am probably going to lose this game. So I'm trying to go out, Blaze of Glory, right? And I go for 2. I'm not healthy, and I'm going to go ahead and swing into TJ's base. And I'm going to go ahead and throw a die at Ryan, and we're going to kind of figure out what I have to actually roll. But I do believe I rolled the right die. I did. And I end up hitting that 5. So unfortunate. I deal 0 damage to base. I lose my Jar Jar, and now I'm in a really bad spot because yes, Josh doesn't have any, but he only has 7 damage on base, so he essentially has half the amount of damage on his base as I do have my base. I have 8 HP left. So the issue is that if someone goes ahead and swings into my base with a surprise strike or a hotshot blaster, and they end up rolling damage into my base, it can pretty much just spell the end. Like it's gonna be the end of me, right? So TJ smells blood in the water, right? And he opts to attack me, where I feel like if he should have probably attacked Ryan to put him at more damage. Like I can't retaliate, and I guess it's probably easy. Yes, he can go ahead and kill me. So I end up taking the damage there. I got 5 more. I got 2 damage, right? And then he goes ahead and he deals another 2 to my base. And that goes ahead, I go from 12 to 16. And he's going to go ahead and change of heart there. And then I am dead. So maybe I just did the math wrong there. But I was at 6, 12, 18. I was at 19 damage, right? So I ended up losing. Ryan ends up healing 5. He does end up hitting his own base off the Jar Jar. But again, I'm knocked out completely. And yeah. So now it finishes up the game here, right? You have to go around the board until everyone's done here, right? This is the last phase. because I was knocked out. And that's the good thing about this format, that no one has to really sit around that long, right? Because once one person's knocked out, then the game is over after the round, right? And so you have the Hotshot Blaster coming out with the Jar Jar, and he is going to go ahead and he's going to swing into Ryan's base here. Or actually, I think he does swing into... He swings into Josh's base. He does get a 7. So he does hit Josh's, and he does put Josh up to 11. And now you have the Jar Jar here. And Josh has to kind of have a decision here, right? He's technically in the Kingmaker position because he can swing into Ryan's base and knock him out of the game pretty much. Or he can swing into TJ's base and put him in contention to like lose as well, because whoever Ryan swings into will end up having more HP and more damage into him, right? So Josh does elect to go ahead and swing into TJ. If he doesn't roll a 5 here, TJ is also put at 9 here. So he goes from 7 to 9 if he doesn't hit himself. And he hits the Jar. Nope. So at first we thought that he hit the Jar Jar, but also my base is gone. So he does hit Ryan's already tapped, exhausted Jar Jar there. So now TJ's at 4. And it's a really close game, but Ryan does have the opportunity to go ahead and hit TJ again.